Hello and welcome back to the Runaway American UK edition. I thought I would film this given recent news. Obviously, I went to sleep like everyone else did and woke up to the news that the U.S. had sent missiles or bombs to Iran. And I'm still quite wrestling what to make of it. It's extremely scary given the fact that I believe one of the presidential campaign promises from Trump is that it would be a peace, like no war. Like he kind of touted that quite often, that he was the president of peace. He likes to say that peace quite a lot. This isn't presidential, nor is it peacely. I don't know. It's not really an act of peace to send missiles nor kill the supreme leader. I mean, that part I'm not going to say I don't have wonderful thoughts towards Iran's leader. I wasn't like, oh, I love him. But I do think that killing a leader of another nation, usually bad politics like 101, it's usually not the best way to operate things. But whatever, that's just apparently how Trump does things. I'm very interested to hear in what way the UK has responded. I didn't really know what to choose in regards to this. I could absolutely do like BBC if you guys want me to watch something from them as well. I just chose this because I saw this come up on my TikTok, like a very brief clip, and I was like, oh, I'd kind of be interested to see the full clip of this, like the full video of what this guy had to say, as well as some of the callers. Very interesting to me. Don't really know what to make of it. I know for a fact I don't think we should be going to a war again. I think that's ludicrous. I also think that just like bombing, I don't really know what precipitated the attack. I don't think anything did. Again, I could be wrong, but I have not heard of anything, nor have I heard of anything that would warrant bombing an elementary school and killing like 50 young girls. That I feel like is just inexcusable, and it's a war crime. So whether or not, again, Trump loves to tout that he's not he's a great man. He's a man of peace. I mean, he wanted the medal of, the Peace Prize. He wanted the Nobel Peace Prize. He didn't win it. Maybe this is his retaliation as well, because Greenland seemed to be his advisors were like, it's a really big no-no. It's a bad area. Don't go there. But with Iran, he's like, I can take my anger out there. So I will be doing that. Very interesting. The speech he gave as well, I don't know if anyone's seen it, but in the United States, it was very much just it gave remnants of Shrek, of Lord Farquaad, telling his followers, I may lose you, some of you may die. It's a loss I'm willing to make. And he based it's whatever. I don't really care. And that was kind of, it wasn't like a rallying cry, because again, the American people were not the brightest, but I feel like most of us realized that there is no reason for this. There was no there was nothing that made us have missile attacks against Iran. We have the ever growing threat constantly of, we've been saying it for the last 15 years of nuclear war. Weirdly though, I feel like we probably shouldn't have gotten rid of the nuclear deal that we had in the first place if we didn't want them to build nuclear weapons. But to each their own, he's the one who got rid of that deal. So you would think that he kind of would be knowing that's probably in the direction they were going to head when he literally decided not to continue with the deal that the U.S. had made with them. Again, this is just me spitting. I have no idea. It's just my brain working as I'm thinking, because I have no idea what is on his mind. And I don't think he has any idea either. I do think it's a massive distraction tactic, but let's hear what the UK says. I'm going to shut up, and I'd love to hear. Here we go.
Do you think the diplomatic route had been exhausted in this case? Because there were talks in Geneva as recently as this week, and then all of a sudden, out of the blue, or perhaps not so out of the blue, but nevertheless very quickly, these strikes took place this morning, and some were expecting that maybe that diplomacy could have continued. Was it sort of going nowhere, do you think? Had diplomatic efforts come to nothing?
No, it was not going nowhere. And in the light of events that have happened this morning, it looks as though, from a US point of view, they were merely using it as a diversionary tactic to lull the Iranian regime into thinking that there might be a diplomatic solution when the amassing of this huge armada and air force in the Middle East pointed to Trump really only being committed to a further military action. And that will simply undermine any faith that the Iranians ever had in the US negotiation, at least under Trump. I mean, there was a negotiated settlement under Obama, which was being respected by both sides, and Trump overturned it. He's never yet managed to replace it with anything more satisfactory.
Because he really wanted to have his own. This is something Trump loves to tout, is that, again, that he is the best at making deals. He has not successfully really done one, or it's been broken quite often. So I don't know how good he is at making the deals. The Art of the Deal, as his book was called, not according to Trump, though. It should be The Art of the Deal of someone else did this and I took credit for it. Again, though, I'm just baffled by the thought that we are doing this when no one was made aware. Like, it just came out of nowhere. And the fact that he says that they will obviously have lost faith in the fact that the United States word meant anything in regards to this. They were not coming to the table diplomatically. They were doing this behind the scenes, because a military operation of this size definitely took a while to plan. It didn't happen overnight. So the fact that they were having talks in Geneva the week before and did this was probably weeks, if not months in the making. And that was a cover. My thing that's really just saddens me greatly, though, is it's not just going to be Iran that feels this way. It's going to be countries all over the world, because if we can't take you at your word, what can we take you at? I mean, I've known for years that every word that comes out of Trump's mouth is basically a flat out lie. If you don't believe that, literally check any facts or statistics. He made a State of the Union address. Out of his entire speech, which I think was like an hour and a half long, it was like one of the longest speeches that a president has ever given. I think they said about 4% of it was actually true. The rest was either flat out lies or just like things that he has slightly done, but he just like over exaggerated it to a crazy amount. So again, if you are one of these people who think the U.S. is much brighter because you think the U.K. is not great right now either, I'm just going to say this, you would be wrong. Like, you have to, the issue is that the news you are consuming is, I don't consume news for this reason most of the time, because news in itself most of the time is an opinion that has been spun. Unless you're looking at a news station where it is 100% proven that it's always facts, they don't give opinions, they just state plain, clear as day. Even this man, he's giving an opinion. Do I agree with him on his opinion? Yes, because I know the facts behind the opinion. As I stated it before this thing of like, I knew that the Obama deal was in the thing. Trump was the one who got rid of it. And he's literally stated that the reason he got rid of it is because he thought he could have made a better deal, and the one that Obama made was ridiculous, and the fact that we agreed to it in the first place. Well, you never did. And now I don't know what you're going to do, but I have family members in the service. I have people that are friends in the service. The fact that you are doing this is despicable. It's absolutely criminal. The fact that you said in many of your campaigns that you were going to be the president of peace, that you weren't going to drag us into another war. Well, guess what? Another war is coming. And this time it wasn't even because of something that happened. Like the Iraq war was, at least we were literally attacked by terrorists in our own backyard. Like, it happened to us there. Now you're just going after people because they piss you off, or because you're upset and you're like whining about the fact that something didn't go your way. No, you're supposed to be the president. Have a little bit of diplomacy, act like a grown up, and take it on the chin. I'm sorry that someone made fun of your dancing or the way your hands looked. Like, that's ridiculous. I get comments on this channel all the time that are absolutely horrifying and sometimes just so sad that a person could think that way. But I'm not whining, nor am I cowering in my room crying about it. I just, either write like a quippy response to them, or I delete it if it's straight out just horrible. But usually you guys are fantastic on here. It very rarely happens. I'm going to shut up again. We're going to get back to it. Sorry.
The situation in Iran has continued to deteriorate. The Iranian people came out on the street a few weeks ago to demonstrate. Trump said, we're coming to help you. And then he didn't. And tens of thousands of them were killed. So now he's going to kill some more Iranians in the hope
Didn't realize that part, though.
He can get rid of the regime. He's explicitly said, we want regime change. And strangely, that echoes George W. Bush in Iraq.
That worked out so well.
Change. And for a man who has promised never to go into forever wars, he's stepping straight in the same puddle. So eventually, there will have to be some further negotiations between the US and Iran, but they're likely to be on hold for some time. What is interesting is that the Iranian regime itself appears to have decided it was worth taking the risk of a war, because that was the best way of preserving itself. And Trump, if you like, has entirely confirmed that view. Once there is a war against the US, it's very hard for Iranian people to rise up against their regime. This is the problem. It's now a war between Iran and the US, not a war between the IRGC and the Ayatollahs. It's quite possible that the US are trying to take out the Ayatollah, so there is, the leadership is gone. That's what they successfully did, the Israelis successfully did with Hezbollah, and which they tried for a long time to do with Hamas. Mm-hmm. And in both cases, it doesn't solve the problem. And therefore, it's unclear that the US can actually win a war against Iran purely from the air. And we don't look like we have a situation as in Venezuela where you can take out the leader and then a successor regime says, okay, US will do whatever you want. Yeah. The Iranian people are not like that. And therefore, I would see this as a very severe miscalculation. Already we've had explosions going off in other Middle Eastern countries as the Iranians respond in Kuwait, in Bahrain, in Qatar. And so there's a high risk of this becoming a wider regional conflict in the Middle East.
What should the UK do in response? Because that seems to be what Keir Starmer is mulling this morning. He's got this Cobra meeting. Sources in...
I believe he stated that again, I could be wrong, but I believe he stated that he wasn't going to be part of the response. Like they weren't involved with the first strike, and they wouldn't be involved either. I believe. I could be wrong. I could be wrong in that. I do think it's the best strategy. I don't understand why you would support the US right now with this, because it seems utterly ridiculous. And why are we dragging another country into a war just because they're our allies? It has nothing to do with it has nothing to do with you guys in the fact of you're not the ones who started it. So why should you have to join it just because you're an ally? That seems ludicrous again. I mean, if you want to, I guess. I'm not
suggesting to me that it's right and proper that he goes through that process first before jumping to conclusions, before making clear statements on either side of this debate. Easy for the likes of Reform UK or the Greens to have a position, but number 10 suggesting to me this morning that you would expect a Prime Minister to sort of digest this soberly and think it through before coming out with any statements. What do you think he should do? Should he side with America and allow America, for example, to use our bases? Or do you believe, Nicholas, that this is just, there's no good that could possibly come from this military action and Britain is better off out of it?
Why would you involve yourself? Yeah.
British government's position is very delicate and difficult, and I don't blame the Prime Minister for taking a bit of time before coming out, even though there's a huge pressure on him. He's aware his predecessor, Tony Blair, went all in with George W. Bush to regime change in Iraq, and it all ended very badly for the Iraqis, for the British, for the US.
It was, again, very different, though, because the circumstances that surrounded that were you lost British lives in 9/11. Like this was a horrifying tragedy that then set off that motion. You know what I'm saying? And also it was based on like intelligence that was not good. In the U.S. at least, most people deem George W. Bush as one of the dumbest presidents that have ever existed. However, we now mourn for him in the fact of like we miss him in regards to our current regime. Again, you may disagree with me. You may be all for it. I'm not saying that Iran didn't need another leader. They obviously did if the people were up in arms against him. But it's as this man says, who I'm sure is a political strategist. I'm not really sure of his background, but I'm sure what he's saying is true. And this is true of other countries as well. We've seen it before, that if you are going to war, there's no way that it's kind of like now we have midterm elections coming up. Trump's already looking at an executive order in order to delay them so that he can continue to keep power in the House and the Senate, because right now Republicans have a minority lead, and he knows that in midterm elections it will switch to the Democrats. Like there's no question of it. He has an extremely unfavorable view. I think he has like a 30% approval rating. So the likelihood that he was going to continue to run the House and the Senate was almost nothing. So he's trying to find a way to distract from that, a way to halt it. And he can do that if we're at, it's still completely illegal and against our Constitution, but he technically could do it. And I'm sure that the checks and balances that are in place that we have quite easily found out through this presidency, they're not really doing anything. They don't really do anything. He kind of gets to do what he wants, and he says he gets to do what he wants. He knows that, and I think people are kind of figuring it out now. Yes, but I think this man is right and correct that the British, you have to mull these things over, because it is a very particular situation. As he said, Tony Blair went in with George W. Bush, but again, as I said, the circumstances were extremely different. It was a very different time. The intelligence was very different. Like the things that we know now, the news, like news is completely digestible to everyone around the world. If you want to be apprised of news, you absolutely can be. Back then, it was what was on your television screen is what you were seeing, or what was written is what you were seeing. You weren't seeing the behind the scenes. You weren't seeing the horror, the devastation that came with wars. You weren't finding out things until much later that happened. So now it's a lot more transparent, and I think that that's something you have to consider. That's something you have to debate over. Do we want to get into a war that a lot of people already think was started for a nondescript, ridiculous reason?
And there would be severe hesitations about following that path. Secondly, this is an illegal war.
Again,
There is no
illegal.
UN Security Council resolution authorizing it. It's even less legal than the Iraq war was, and that was disputed. So for the UK, which supports the international rule of law, to come out and back the US that has just launched unprovoked aggression, or you can argue over the unprovoked. Israel has said, this is preliminary retaliation against a threat. But, it's not a legal war in terms of the international rule of law. For the UK to endorse that would be a very big step. Yeah. On the other hand, we are still very...
Oh, he cut out.
And militarily.
Okay.
So we can't risk aggravating Mr. Trump too much. If I was Mr. Starmer, I would coordinate very closely with other European leaders. Mm-hmm. I would guess the French will be quite quick out of the blocks in condemning the action. But the Germans are in a very similar position to us. Always best to act in company if
Agreed.
you can.
Yes, that makes sense too.
The risk, I think we can say, this risks a wider conflagration, and we think it should be resolved by diplomacy as soon as possible. That's what I would expect. Yeah. What is going to be interesting is what China says.
Ooh, yeah. I don't believe I've heard of what China's opinions are on it or what to make of it. I live very close to China, like extremely close, like 2-hour flight away. So, I am a person who is very interested in what their opinion would be on it. Again, I do think the UK would be right in talking. I don't know if Germany has come out. I do believe France came out against it already. I don't know if Germany has. I don't know what other European countries have said. However, I do think that all standing together against what Trump did would have made sense. I would have believed that maybe the UK, because they said that they won't let Trump use the bases or that they're not involved, I would assume that means that most of the other countries in Europe have also said that. But again, I could be wrong. That's something I'll have to look into further. I don't know what to make of it. I would love to hear your thought process. Because again, I'm not condoning the Iranian government. I think it was horrible. I think it deserved to be overthrown. However, I do agree with this man, Nicholas Westcott. I'll have to do some research on him as well. I do agree with him in the fact that these have never worked. In Iraq, it didn't work. And in that one, we did it as a, like, it was basically a retaliation. Because, like, let's be honest, it was that. It wasn't because, like, it was somewhat of a retaliation. It was bad information. It was not a great war. Everyone knows it. We lost. Like, we basically, like, we lost. We left. And we called it like a regrouping or something. But yeah, it didn't go well. So to do the exact same thing again doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Do I feel horrible for the Iranian people that are under a regime that is so terrible to them and awful and killed thousands of them for relatively no reason except protesting their government? Yeah, I think that's awful. I think that's absolutely despicable. The fact that that happens in today's society is, again, shocking to me. I mean, you would think that we've evolved enough as humans to realize we shouldn't be making the same mistakes over and over again, but apparently we just keep doing that. So again, please like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to my channel if you want to see more like this. And honestly, have a debate with me in the comments. I say this every time because I really do enjoy a respectful debate. If you come at me saying extremely rude things, your comment will just be deleted because I'm not going to interact with that. However, if you come at me with facts, with statistics, with reasonable suggestions or reasonable belief of why you believe you are correct, I absolutely will have a discussion with you, and I would love to. I am a person who values a political discussion. I am a person who believes that the reason we can have great human thought, the reason that we are as evolved as human beings is that we have the ability to reason, the ability to change our minds, the ability to think for ourselves. So obviously you may think differently than me. That doesn't mean you need to curse me out, or that doesn't mean you need to interact with me in a rude way. We can have discourse. We can have a thoughtful discussion. I would love to have a thoughtful discussion with you if you do disagree with me. If you agree with me, then tell me what your thoughts are. Like dive deep into your thoughts of what you think in regards to the Iranian strikes. How do you think UK should have responded? Do you agree with how your current prime minister responded? Do you disagree? Do you think that Trump is off his rocker, or are you totally in support? I would love to hear it. All of it. Seriously. Again, open for discourse, open for thoughts different than mine. Thank you so much for tuning in. This has been the Runaway American UK edition. See you next time. Bye-bye.